Hey, today I wanted to do a quick video to show off the new rain effects and custom shaders patch for Assetto Corsa Content Manager and compare that to another sim that has great rain effects, Automobilista 2. So I wanted to drive one of my favorite cars in all of sim racing, the Mercedes 190e Evolution 2 DTM car around the Red Bull Ring in Austria, and compare the two, see which one looks better and drives better. And as you can see, these rain effects look absolutely stunning, especially in VR. The modder XFab did such an outstanding job. By the way, I'll link to his Patreon in the description below. I am one of his Patreon subscribers, and he's been having these rain effects in beta for a few months now. Slight improvements here and there, and this is probably the most complete version of it. It works with Soul. Previously it did not. It was like a separate effect. Now full integration with Soul and custom shaders patch, and as you can see, it just looks wonderful. I have the seasonal track elements turned off. If you have these on in Content Manager, you would actually see frost and a little bit of snow on the ground, but for comparison's sake, I wanted everything to be absolutely green. I also have the dirt effects on the windshield turned off, but if they're on, then you would actually see more profound dirt streaks from the windshield wipers. It's an absolutely stunning looking effect. I also like how the raindrops are actually physical objects. If you are watching like a replay and you actually pause it, see the raindrops pause in the air. If you look near the top of the windshield, you can see how they're flying towards the windshield, and they hit the windshield, and they have like these almost random physics that occur when they're on the windshield. It's just kind of mind-blowing how I did this. The only other game I've ever seen that had similar looking effects was a PS4 game called Drive Club, which was really known for how realistic the rain looked, and I think that this really outdoes it. I'm using a wet track mod for this in Assetto Corsa Content Manager, and the new version of Custom Shaders Patch actually has extended physics to enable wet weather on certain tracks. There's also wet weather mods for cars so that you can get a more simulative experience when you're racing in the wet. Else you would only just have the visual effect, and it'd be the same as racing on a dry track. I just love the way the rain actually moves up the windshield as you're getting up to speed. The puddle effects on the track actually look stunning as well, but some of these are because of the wet weather mod I'm using. So if you're not using a wet weather version of a track, it won't look quite as reflective. It looks almost like the track is covered in a sheet of glass, and that's because I'm using the wet weather mod for this particular track in conjunction with the rain effects. And I will say that the driving is pretty good in the wet. It's not super realistic. I feel like you can push the car harder than you really should be able to with this much rain in the track. But that is something that the modding community has been working diligently on, is trying to get a more realistic wet driving experience in Assetto Corsa. Now let's switch to Automobilista 2, and as I'm sure you can already tell, the effect is a lot more subtle in this game. Now as you pick up speed, you'll see as soon as I come out of the pit lane here, the rain will really start to come down and cover the windshield. But I really think that there was a design decision by the devs to not make the visual effect of the rain quite as intrusive for the sake of driving. It's hard to see your apexes when you're turning because there's rain on the windshield. And I really think they tried to find a good balance between having a great looking rain effect, realism, and drivability. And as you see, I missed my brake marker there and understeer a little bit. The driving in Automobilista 2, the wet weather driving is superior. It just feels more like you're driving in the wet. I love the sounds of this game. You hear that? I hear the tires locking up on the wet track as you brake hard. That's a nice little touch that adds to the immersiveness of driving in the wet. Plus, this car absolutely screams. I just love the way it sounds on Automobilista 2. Automobilista 2 is a great sim. Admittedly, when it first came out, I didn't see what the fuss was about, but as they've added new content, tracks, and cars, it's one of my favorite sims to just hop in and drive. I haven't done much multiplayer yet, but I'm hoping that they work on that experience to get it to the point where you possibly steal people away from other multiplayer giants like Assetto Corsa Competizione and iRacing. Also, there's like this cascading sheets of rain effect to Automobilista 2 that looks really cool, actually. I wish they would find a way to do that in Assetto Corsa. Okay, so let's get some split screen action side by side so we can see. And I don't think there's any question that Assetto Corsa just outright looks better. It looks more realistic at the very least. One of the things I absolutely love about the rain effect in Assetto Corsa, if you look at the driver's side window, you can see as the car gets up to speed, the raindrops actually streak sideways along the window, whereas in Automobilista 2, it's more static. The raindrops are there, but they don't really move even though your car is doing 100 miles per hour. That's a awesome touch, and I think that's really the detail that makes it feel more realistic, or at least makes it look more realistic in Assetto Corsa. Also, Assetto Corsa, the cockpit view in VR, I think is probably the best looking in sim racing, mainly because of the lighting and shadows. But that's not to say Automobilista 2 doesn't look good. Trust me, Automobilista 2 is one of the best VR experiences you can get in sim racing. For those of you that played Project Cars 2, you'll know what I'm talking about. That game, its biggest draw was probably how good the VR experience was, and I think Automobilista 2 does a good job of that as well, being based on the same engine. Overall, I'd say that the wet weather effects look more realistic in Assetto Corsa, but the wet driving feels more realistic in Automobilista 2. And overall, with the sounds, the immersiveness is maybe just a tad bit better in Automobilista 2. But I think as modders continue to work on these rain effects and wet weather mods, I think it won't be long before Assetto Corsa is able to surpass Automobilista 2 as far as wet weather driving is concerned, as I totally bin the Mercedes and Assetto Corsa. So if you haven't had a chance to try this out, there is a free preview build of Custom Shaders Patch with the rain effects that you can download. But I highly recommend that you go to XFab's Patreon and donate so that he can continue making these great mods for the community. And when you do so, you will get access to the newest versions of Custom Shaders Patch with all of the improvements that he's added here. So everyone grab your umbrellas and your wet tires and do some hot laps. If you like this video, be sure to hit like, subscribe so that you can get more of the sim racing content that you desire, and I'll talk to you guys later.